Tonight, one of the most well-known intersections in North America is about to get a name change.
What happened tonight is history-making. I'm proud of the city.
Why some are celebrating ditching Yonge Dundas Square and what the new name will be for the famous corner.
It's a really good news story for us. We're very thankful.
Plus, the overhaul coming to your alcohol. We'll explain when thousands of convenience stores and hundreds more grocery stores will be allowed to get retail licenses and what they'll be allowed to sell.
This is highly unfair.
And looming loan deadline, why small business advocates are calling for a one-year loan forgiveness extension. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Beginning tonight at arguably the most iconic intersection in Toronto, Yonge Dundas Square officially set to get a new name after a council vote late this evening. Tyler Cheese has the new name and what's behind the move in our top story tonight.
One of the busiest parts of the city is getting a new name.
I mean, it's a bit weird.
City Council voted tonight to rename Yonge Dundas Square to Sankofa Square, something some locals aren't too sure about.
It's quite new and stuff, and I haven't really got used to it, but
because we're so used to the name Dundas.
Sankofa is a word that originates in Ghana, and city officials say it means reclaiming past teachings that enable us to move forward together.
18 million people were stolen from Africa. 1.8 of those people died along the way. So really, it's paying tribute to our ancestors. 400 years of slavery, right? And still today, the remnants of that still exist in our city, in our communities, in our homes.
Councillor Chris Moyes put the motion forward. This follows council voting to rename Dundas Street over 3 years ago in response to its affiliation with Henry Dundas, who supported the transatlantic slave trade. As a result, a renaming advisory committee was formed. The new name was put forward by that committee.
The committee is composed of residents of the city who live along Dundas Street, but it also is composed of members of the Black and Indigenous communities.
What happened tonight is history-making. I'm proud of the city. I'm proud that we've stood up in this way and reflected on deeper concepts, meaningful ways of moving forward that involve symbolism, activations, conceptual development, and togetherness.
As a result of tonight's vote, Dundas Street will no longer be changed, but a few other city assets will be. Dundas Station is set to be named for nearby Toronto Metropolitan University, with the school agreeing to foot the $1.6 million bill to make the change. While Dundas West Station and the Jane Dundas branch of the Toronto Public Library will also be changed, but new names haven't been picked yet.
I think, it will help inspire and ignite conversation and talk about our history in a positive way, right? It's the beginning, it's the start of a new beginning for us.
The Yonge Dundas Square name change will take place in 2024, with the other changes to follow. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Another top issue at Council today was the cap on rideshare licenses in Toronto. This evening, Council voting to suspend the cap. It was just put in place in October, but after Uber threatened to take the city to court, councillors decided to pump the brakes for now. Daniela Ponticelli walks us through what's at stake.
Speaker, I'd like to move the motion.
Mayor Chow put forth a motion that would rescind the cap on rideshare licenses. Chow initially said she supported the cap because she was concerned about the emissions of too many cars on the road.
They're driving because they are circling around looking for fares.
Uber has been seeking an urgent injunction from the courts, which prompted today's vote.
Frankly, we've found ourselves in a real situation where legal action has been taken. We all understand the significance of that and what that means for the City of Toronto, our legal risks and liability. And the fundamental piece here is the process was not fair.
Uber started putting this message on receipts, calling out Mayor Chow for the harm a cap could have. Earlier this month, the rideshare giant went into high gear, filing a lawsuit against the city over the cap.
We're looking for a data-driven, evidence-based process and a consultation process that's industry-wide. So that would mean, the public, it would mean industry players like Uber and other rideshare companies.
Council did vote to create space for a consultation process, but Councillor Bradford and the mayor had a tense exchange over how long it would be.
Why would this
Because I want to
councillor-
rely
well,
on the
allow me to
actual
finish.
data and the
Hang
information.
on a second, Mr.
Councillor
Bradford.
Bradford,
Do you want me to answer
please.
the question or not?
Hover is a new company looking to break into the market next year. They don't agree with Uber's opposition to the cap.
We actually support the cap. We think it's a meaningful way of supporting drivers who are full-time workers.
Uber called today's decision by council a short-term fix and said it could renew its legal action if the cap comes back in a few months' time. Daniela Ponticelli, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to major changes coming to Ontario's liquor retail market. The Premier announcing today he's making good on an election promise to allow the sale of beer, wine, and some other alcoholic drinks in convenience stores and many more grocery stores. While the industry is cheersing the plan, it's still a couple of years out. We'll get your reaction from the industry in a sec, but first, our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley, has all the details.
The bottles of wine in this convenience store aren't for sale yet. They're just for show, as a backdrop to the announcement by Premier Doug Ford.
We want to make sure that we're in line with everyone else in the world and across Canada. Being able to go into a store, you're buying a steak, grab a bottle of wine, and go home. That's a good thing.
Right now, Ontario has per capita fewer retail shops to buy alcohol than anywhere in Canada. Once Ford's plan kicks in, only Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador would have more.
We got to treat our people of Ontario like adults, and that's what we're doing.
The changes mean nearly 7,000 convenience stores in the province could get licensed to sell, along with another 1,800 grocery stores. And for the first time in Ontario, those privately owned stores would be allowed to sell at lower prices than the LCBO.
We're moving forward today with dynamic and competitive pricing. This is a good day for the consumer to have choice, to have convenience, and to have competition.
Sales will be permitted from 7 in the morning till 11 at night. Stores will have to give 20% of their beer shelf space to Ontario craft brewers, and 40% of their wines in stock must be local.
This is a new chapter in Ontario. It's fantastic.
While they expect to see some reduction in the LCBO's retail sales, government officials say they don't expect its overall revenues to drop significantly, because it remains the only place to buy spirits, such as whiskey or rum, and will be the exclusive wholesaler for booze.
I'm very proud of how the LCBO is running right now. It's a great profit center that we can take the profits from there and invest it into healthcare and education.
The privately owned beer store stays alive and gets a 5-year deal to be the main distributor of beer to all the new retail shops. It will also continue running Ontario's deposit return program for cans and bottles.
I'm not a drinker, but I'm tempted to go back there, crack up one of those, whatever they are, ciders, and take a little swig.
Don't be tempted to celebrate too quickly. None of this change is due to happen until January 1st, 2026. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Beer and wine producers have been pushing for these sorts of changes for some time now, and Lorenda Redicott picks up how the industry is reacting to the alcohol overhaul.
At this local brewery, they'll drink to the changes on the way, hoping they'll mean a boost in business, and already preparing for 2026.
We're going to have to make key relationships with people at convenience stores, gas stations, big box stores. We're going to have to sell our product to those establishments. We're just going to have to get our brand out there.
Products like theirs could be available in up to 8,500 more locations.
We just could not be happier.
For local wineries, there's another key change, getting rid of a 6.1% tax for products they sell at their local winery stores. Plus, the LCBO will be doing more to promote their products.
It's a really good news story for us, and we're very thankful that this government listened.
The beer store retail stores will still exist, but with a whole lot more competition. And its CEO takes exception to the store owned by the largest brewers being called a monopoly.
A monopoly has 100% market share and sets its own prices, and we have neither. But regardless, we know that the beer store, we need to compete in the marketplace, and we're open and willing to doing that.
They're already looking at spiffing up the look of stores, The head of the Union for Beer Store Employees says he was extremely worried this announcement could have meant many job losses. Instead,
most likely need to add some jobs in our distribution part of our business as we expand that, and we'll sort of see where everything works out.
It's still unknown what their role will be after 5 years for distribution and recycling. Back at Great Lakes Brewery, they're still hoping for a tax cut for local brewers. Plus, they'd like to be added to the list of new retailers.
You know, you can have wine racks and wine shops. Why not a beer store that's owned by a local independent craft brewery?
This announcement is just the first step, with more details still to be worked out. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, hopping outside and looking live at the city tonight. It is 4 degrees and cloudy out there. Nick Sternkovich is here with a first look at the forecast. Certainly feeling a bit warmer out there tonight. Nick, walk us through the day.
Well, Chris, a nice day today. We had temperatures above the seasonal mark at 5 degrees across the GTA. In fact, most places 5, 6 degrees. Sarnia and Windsor, 7, 9 degrees today. It gets even warmer, though, in the long-range forecast. That's coming up in just a sec. For now, though, here's a look at the cloud cover. Really, we've seen cloud cover clear out through tonight. So earlier, a little bit more on the way of clouds. It's clearing out through tonight. Lots in the way of sunshine for tomorrow. It's not until Saturday where we begin to see cloud cover rolling back in and rain showers to end off the weekend. Your short-range forecast looks like this, 3 degrees for tonight. We stay above the 0 mark. Tomorrow, though, believe it or not, a high of 10 degrees, and that comes with a lot of sunshine. We'll have your full forecast, tell you if this is going to stick around, coming up in just a bit. Chris.
And we will stick around for that. All right, thank you, Nick. Turning next to an active police investigation, Toronto officers are searching for multiple people wanted for arson after a home under construction was gutted by fire early this morning. The 3-story property in the Bayview and York Mills area went up in flames just after 6 a.m. Fire officials say it was vacant at the time and no one was injured, but a number of surrounding homes had to be evacuated. Tonight, police releasing images of 4 suspects seen carrying jerry cans outside the home at the time of the fire. Police say the suspects arrived at the home in a dark-colored Mercedes sedan and parked in the driveway. They then went to the back of the house where they allegedly set the fire before fleeing in the sedan. Police are asking for the public's help to identify them. A date has been set for a coroner's inquest into the death of Sammy Yatim. The 18-year-old was shot and killed by a Toronto police officer on a city streetcar just over a decade ago. The inquest will begin on January 12, 2024. It'll examine the circumstances surrounding Yatim's death. As is typical with inquests, the jury can make recommendations aimed at preventing similar deaths in the future. The proceedings are expected to last 13 days, with 14 witnesses set to give testimony. Returning now with a harsh review of Toronto Police's interactions with Black people in the city. A report out today from the Ontario Human Rights Commission found systemic racial profiling and anti-Black racism in all areas of policing in Toronto. The report comes with more than 100 recommended changes. Ali Chiasson has more on the findings.
Findings are clear. Systemic racial discrimination, racial profiling, and anti-Black racism exist wherever Black people interact with Toronto police.
Even after the Toronto Police have stopped street checks as a practice, the Ontario Human Rights Commission has found that Black people are overrepresented in all areas of policing, including arrests and charges, strip searches, use of force, and deadly force.
Remaining gaps in use of force require urgent attention.
Black people are disproportionately impacted by street checks, charges, arrests, use of force. They're overly represented in qualitative and survey data on police stops.
This TMU professor begs the question.
Then what do the police do right by Black people? That's a real question.
Sam Tekle says after the Ontario Human Rights Commission inquiry, we don't need another report, but action.
We're still dealing with the same issues. Post George Floyd, post the racial rebellions of 2020, So just to keep that pressure on that's been happening from Black communities, social movement organizations, I think that's useful.
The Human Rights Commission wants the police to destroy historical street check data and provide greater transparency on officer discipline.
The Commission also calls on Toronto Police and the board to be proactive in updating their policies and procedures to provide clearer guidance for officers' interaction with the public.
The report makes 107 recommendations for the Toronto Police. The Ontario Human Rights Commission plans to work with them and the board to make the recommendations legally binding. Today, the police chief says they welcome the report and will continue their work on addressing the impacts of systemic racism. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to a story about pandemic-era loans. Many local businesses say they face a looming repayment deadline, or else they could lose out on an incentive worth tens of thousands of dollars for some. Now, business advocates in Toronto are calling for an extension. Ryan Patrick Jones takes a closer look.
Firing up the grill at Flame Food and Design in Bloor West Village. Irem Sachekla and her husband, Serhat, take ancient recipes from their homeland, the Anatolian region of Turkey, and serve them up with a modern twist. But lately, it's their finances that have been feeling the heat. That's because their CBC loan is coming due.
So it's so stressful for us. We are still living tough days because of the general economic situation, not because of COVID this time.
The couple owe $60,000. The federal government will forgive a third if they can repay by January 18th. But Sachekla says many customers aren't dining out due to the weak economy, so business hasn't recovered and they don't have the money.
We are cutting from everywhere. We need to be so cautious and to keep everything for our staff and also for decreasing the cost, but not losing the quality. So quality is too important.
Other business owners are also staring down the deadline.
This is highly unfair.
Mazgani's online tutoring company borrowed $40,000. $10,000 was forgivable. But recently the government told him his business didn't qualify for the $40,000 he was loaned.
They gave it to us on the premise that $10,000 of that would be forgiven. And now fast forward time to pay back, they're saying, no, it's not forgiven, you have to pay the whole thing back.
Business owners that took CBC loans must pay by the January deadline. Those working to refinance their loan can have 2 more months until March 28th. If they don't pay, they'll lose out on the portion that can be forgiven. Then the full amount will convert to a 3-year loan with a 5% interest rate. With just weeks to go, this advocate says many small and medium-sized businesses could be in financial danger.
About a third of those that have taken out the loan report that they just don't have the money to repay it at this time. We need an extension in order to have more of these small businesses survive.
All 13 premiers and the CFIB are calling for a 1-year extension. Toronto City Council will vote this week requesting the same. But the repayment deadline has already been extended twice, and a spokesperson for Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says that additional flexibility was significant. That's little solace, though, to many business owners. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
To Peel Region now, where police are launching their annual festive ride campaign, an effort to crack down on impaired driving this holiday season.
The lives lost and injuries caused by impaired driving are devastating and 100% preventable. Life is never the same for families who have been impacted by impaired driving.
The launch was held at the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Memorial, where names of those killed by impaired driving are engraved on a monument. Ride checks are conducted by police throughout the year, but additional officers are deployed during the campaign. In the span of just 1 month, 79 drivers have been criminally charged with impaired driving in Peel Region. So we're getting some warmer temps and sunshine through the day tomorrow, but will it last? Nick's here with a look at the long-range forecast. Nick.
All right, Chris, so I teased you with the double digits there earlier on. We had 10 degrees for tomorrow. Let's see if it sticks around. Your weather headlines, well, they look like this. Of course, the double-digit Friday in store. We do have clouds, though, rolling in, and that leads some rain as we head through sort of Saturday night into Sunday. Sunday showers are the name of the game. Here's a look at the long-range forecast, starting with tomorrow. Now, clear skies, so we did see some earlier cloud cover today. That's clearing out through tonight. Temperatures, though, will stay above the 0 mark tomorrow. tomorrow. Look for double-digit highs, lots in the way of sunshine. Cloud cover rolls in kind of tomorrow night into Saturday morning. I don't think we're going to see much in the way of rain showers on Saturday, except if you're kind of more toward the north. Otherwise, it's Sunday morning, late Saturday into Sunday morning, where we get rain showers with this system, and it'll be a bit of a wet Sunday, about 10 to 15 millimeters rain. Winds as well. Now, this is a little, I think, optimistic or on the high side there, with wind gusts up to about 60, but certainly around 40 kilometer per hour winds tonight across the GTA. That takes us into about the first half of the day tomorrow, and then slowly kind of begins to ease off. So a bit breezy, but it does come with some milder temperatures in the forecast as well. For tonight, we're looking at temps down to about 3-4 degrees, depending on where you are. 3 for the most part across the city of Toronto, 4 sort of the downtown core. We've got ones down along the shores of Lake Erie here, but everybody pretty much staying above the freezing mark for tonight. And in fact, that's the story coming up through the next few days. Now, tonight, it's really just this warm push, and tomorrow as well. 10 degrees and sunshine for tomorrow, 4 through the overnight. Then as the cloud cover rolls in, the daytime highs drop. The overnight lows, though, stay fairly mild just because of this cloud cover. It does begin to sort of drop off, though, into next week. 3 on Monday, and the risk of a few flurries, and 1 by Tuesday. Chris.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. Have a great night.